Hey, Steve.
Hi, Andy. How are you?
Hey, how are you? Here's Harry. Hey, Coach.
Hi, folks.
Hey, Harry. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Kristen.
Did you have a game today, Harry?
No, practice today, game tomorrow.
Good luck.
Thanks. We're gonna need more than that. Actually, two, because I do
Okay.
JV and then I do varsity too.
All right, so we have a wing and a prayer.
Takes time to build a program.
It does.
So where's my video? Oh,
Jacqueline, I was just going to say you had to slide the camera over, right?
yeah, we had to go get the other computer and move things around. So.
And there's Danelle. Good.
Hey, sorry about that. We tried it like 6 times on the laptop and it was just not working. Ooh. You. Sorry. Can you do this? Can you do the same thing with the phone number that says 973-600? Thank you. That's Mike.
Seems like Howie and Mike are having audio connection issues.
That's what our issue was before.
Hello.
We have Paul.
On.
Hi, Paul.
Hey,
How
Paul.
you doing? I'm frozen. Yeah, I'm definitely at another speed. Hello, everyone.
Are you guys making fun of me?
There's Mike. No, we weren't making fun of you. We're
What's
talking
going on?
about Paul's speech being slow.
It matches the rest of
He
me.
had a rough day today.
I had a rough life.
The water business is a tough life, right, Paul?
I try not to pay attention to it that much.
There's Dave McDermott.
Hi, Dave.
Hello.
You watch the water flow by, right, Paul?
Exactly. Goes in the plant and out the plant.
That's right. All right, I got kicked off a couple times, but now I'm on. So
I'm good.
Here
I'm just
I am.
frozen video wise.
that's a good shot of you. Don't worry about it. Just
It's
stay
good,
like
right?
that.
Yeah.
Right? I believe everyone
I was gonna
on.
an iPhone for all of the meetings because Dave's video is always perfect all the time.
Yeah, how do you
I don't know
do
if
that?
anyone realizes that.
His spackle in the back is so perfect. I just like
Don't
Perfect
make any fun
spack.
of this spackle. We got Andy in Dave's corner there. You still got that paper up?
Yes, up there. It's right now. My big old head is blocking it.
I'm not
All
touching,
right.
I'm not touching that one.
I think everybody's on. Bear with me here. Okay, let's get started. This is the meeting of the Vernon Township MUA for May 6, 2021. Statement of compliance pursuant to the Open Public Records, Open Meetings Act. Adequate notice of this regular meeting has been provided to the public and the press on January 20th, 2021 by delivering to the press such notice and posting the same at the municipal building and file with the office of the township clerk. Everyone want to rise for the salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America,
and
and to the republic for which it
which
stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For all.
Hoorah.
Okay.
All right. Hold on a second. I lost the agenda. All right, so we'll
Roll
make
call.
a roll call for professionals. Danelle, go ahead.
Mike Fury,
Here.
Paul Carney,
Here.
Dave McDermott,
Here.
Kristen Wheaton,
Present.
Andrew Pitzker,
Present.
Harry Shoreway.
Present.
And then we have Steve Benoski, our engineer, Rich Winter, our attorney, myself, Donnell Bright, as the administrator. Howard Leisure is on. He is our licensed operator. And then we have Jacqueline, our recording secretary.
Not Marcy, but Jackie.
Yes.
That's okay. All right. Somebody want to make a motion to open to the public?
Motion to open to the public comments?
I'll second it.
A motion by Andy Pitzker, seconded by Dave McDermott. These are for agenda items only. Is there anybody from the public to know? Or Jackie?
No, there's no one there. And I did not receive any emails or phone calls asking me to read anything into the record. So I think we are good to move on.
Okay, anyone want to make a motion to close to the public?
I'll make the motion.
Second it.
Second it.
All right, motion by Paul Carney, seconded by Andy Pitzker. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, anybody opposed? All right, we're gonna move on. Number 6, approval of the minutes. We'll start with March 18th, 2021. Everybody had a chance to review the minutes from March 18th, 2021. Is there any comments? Jackie, did you do these minutes?
I did.
Okay, good. Wasn't sure. All right, anybody have any comments about March 18th, 2021?
Motion.
There are no comments or any kind of changes. Do I entertain a motion to approve the minutes from March 18th, 2021?
Motion to approve the minutes from March 18th, 2021.
I'll second it.
All right, motion by Andy Pitzker, seconded by Dave McDermott. Do you need a roll call, Dino?
Yeah, let's do Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andrew Pitzker.
Yes.
All right, good. All right, move on to April 1st, 2021. Everyone had a chance to look at those, review those minutes? Anybody have any concerns about these minutes? If there's no concern or any kind of comments, you want to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from April 1st, 2021?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 1st.
I'll second it.
Motion by Dave McDermott, seconded by Kristen Wheaton. Roll call.
Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andrew Pittsger.
Yes.
All right. First of all, I want to let Jackie know you did a great job on these minutes.
Thank you.
I can't. I'm hard to try and keep a track of. How many more meetings in between there? April 1st and now, is that 2 more meetings or just 1 meeting?
There's just one and they're almost finished for next meeting.
All right, so there's 1. Oh, that's good. We're very well up to.
We're caught up.
Yep.
All right, good job. Okay, let's move on to resolution 21-30, the resolution for cooperative pricing. Janelle, why don't you try to go into explain what we're trying to do?
Yeah, so this is something we've talked about for a while now, about going out for an RFP for emergency service quotes. So we did ask our engineer, Steve, to put together some basic things that we would go out for to include in our RFP. He did that. We were going to go in with Sussex Borough, so we have contacted them. I did send over our specs over to their engineer. I haven't heard back from their engineer yet. I know that Jackie had reached out to them for me, and he had said that he was waiting for some direction from the council. So essentially what has to happen when you're going to go out for cooperative pricing like this, when we go out for an RFP for 2 towns going in, we have to pass these resolutions. So the MUA has to pass a resolution to establish the cooperative pricing system and to go out for an RFP. And then Sussex Borough would have to do the same thing, approved by their council. So we're just doing our part. We're passing this. It's really up to the board if they want to set a time frame about when we want to wait to hear back from Sussex Borough. They really just needed to give us the information in order to kind of move forward, and then they just have to pass their resolution. That's all that really has to be done. But I don't really, I don't like the idea of waiting so long, because it is obviously an aging system. We want to make sure that we can get the best price anytime that there's an emergency.
All right, good. I did talk to Bob Hallowick. He's the borough town council president. They did have he obviously wants to move forward with this, working with us. They did have a council meeting on Tuesday, and that was going to be brought up at the council meeting. So I believe hopefully they have addressed it. We could just go ahead and pass this resolution. Then we could circle around to them to see if they're still interested. But at this point, if they don't really get back to us in short order, we'd like to put this out. I think it's a good idea that we need to put this out as soon as possible to get everything started. Like Danelle says, this is an aging system, and the only way to get good pricing on repair work instead of emergency work is to establish this RFP. So I don't know. Does anybody have any questions or concerns or?
Well, Danelle made a comment about putting a timeline to it. Should we put a 60-day timeline on this? Is that too long, too short?
I think the timeline on for what, Andy?
Well, first of all, I guess that we either hear from Sussex that they're going along with us, and then secondly, do we need a timeline for quotes to be back to us?
So we could handle the RFP portion. I would handle that with the QPA on the specific dates. I mean, the idea is that we'd want to have this go out as soon as possible. So I can't really give you a date on when I would want people to respond back by. But I think if we set a date and we say, okay, 30 days from now, if we don't hear back from Sussex and we don't have the specs, ready to go out, then we just move on it on our own. I don't want us to keep waiting.
And I agree. I just threw 60 days out there, but if you think we should put some type of deadline, 30 days or 15 days, but something so we can move forward.
Yeah. Mike, do you know, do they have monthly meetings in Sussex, or they have them every 2 weeks?
That's what I was going to ask. I believe they have them every 2 weeks.
Okay.
I think the best thing to do is, I'm pretty certain if they discussed it on Tuesday, they've directed the engineer to do whatever he's got to do.
Great.
And if you reach back out to the engineer and if they don't have he doesn't have clear direction, then we're just going to move forward without them.
Okay.
And I'm not going to, because I don't think it's, you know, we gave them ample time to be a part of this. And if they, and I think it's, we want to do something cooperative with them because I think it's beneficial for both towns.
Right.
Because you'll get kind of the pricing, but they need to respond. They need to, and I did talk to Bob, and I said, Bob, we're making every effort to do this with the borough. We really need you to give us the information so we can move forward. So as long as it's very clear, like obviously, like you said, we pass our resolution, and he knows. Then they have to pass a resolution in front of their council to agree to do it, and then move forward. So like anything, if you don't have the RFP written and they're not written into the RFP, then they can't pass a resolution.
Right.
So they need to do some work here too.
So can we put a deadline that we hear a response by May 27th? Would that be reasonable?
I agree with that. That's a reasonable time frame.
Yeah, and I think they have their second meeting on the 18th. I just checked their website.
Right.
All right. So
I don't want to see the engineers dragging this on or doing all that. We need to get the paperwork in so we can move forward. So if we can put in there a response by May 27th, so we can move forward, might be a good idea. That would be an amendment to what we have.
I agree. So does everybody have any questions about this resolution 21-30? Any concerns? So if there's no concerns, and I want to entertain a motion to pass resolution 21-30, resolution authorizing the Vernon Township MUA to establish a cooperative pricing system and enter into a cooperative pricing agreement with other contracting units.
Motion to approve resolution 21-30.
I will second it.
The motion by Andy Pittsger, seconded by Dave McDermott. You want to take a roll call?
Yes. Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andrew Pittsger.
Yes.
All right, good. All right, number 8. Let's what do you, Danelle, you want to do an administrator update or you want to do a licensed operator update first? It's up to you.
Does not matter to me. In order, you know what? Mine's first in the packet. So if anyone's following along, at least it's in order, so I can go first. So we did do something a little bit different with the reports in your packet, just to go through so you guys have some things in writing, things that we're working on, and the highlighted areas that I had put together that's in the packet, or like kind of my action items for myself. So one of the things we're obviously working on is Pump Station 2. We were still gathering information for figures for Mountain Creek that they asked about a couple of weeks ago. I did receive estimates on iBank funding from the auditor. They could do all the amortization schedules. I can't run those. I'm doing the calculations. They should be finished by tomorrow for the future deficits. They had questions about how any revenue would affect their future deficit contribution to our budget. The rates of revenue we already have for the transfer station. Those are estimated based on what Dave Bauer had given us, based on 100,000 gallons that he would be contributing daily. And then the information I forwarded around from Steve regarding the Mountain Creek expansions. Obviously, our allocation and that pump station needs to be able to handle any future expansion plans for Mountain Creek. And I think some plans, Steve, you had mentioned were like previously approved, but nothing's really been built. Or some things were built, but not, fully built out. So we wanted to make sure that we're building it to the right specs, based on the engineer's best recommendation. I don't know if Steve, if you have anything else to add to that portion. Can't hear you. There we go.
Sorry. No, just like you said, they they have a lot of development that could occur if they were to build to their, I'm not sure if the correct word is master plan or general development plan, which obviously may or may not happen. And we put together an analysis for the future capacity of the pump station, essentially.
All right, and you guys all received that.
Yeah, I read it. Steve, I have a question.
Sure.
Is there, and I hadn't really reviewed it in detail. I did read it a little bit. Is there
Yep.
a danger that you can over design the pump station?
Yes, so that's kind of why we are recommending I guess I'd call it a medium case scenario, which does not really present that concern. If
All right,
you were
good.
if you were to combine like 2 or 3 worst case scenarios, then you could end up with something that would be detrimental in the short term and perhaps in forever.
If we oversize it, you mean?
Correct.
Correct. All right, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if everybody had a chance to read that. It was a preliminary design document. It was a memo written by Dewberry. If you have a chance, you'll look that over. And if there's any questions, moving forward, just, please speak up. If you see something in there that doesn't look right, please, offer your comments to Steve.
If I can just say here, and bear with me being a layperson, if we plan it now to handle the capacity and say a moderate increase from the town center in Mountain Creek, with the possibility of expansion to the full amount, say 10 years down the road. The reason being is, I don't know if this can be done, is it possible through the engineering? Because I don't see Mountain Creek going up to their 166,000 gallons a day for a long time. If that is stalled out for 10 years, then the bonds start going down. Right now, they'll go up to 1.5 million in 2023, and I think they start reducing in about 2029. And realistically, are we going to see them do a full build out in 10 years? And I think you're going to see a lot less development currently because wood itself is skyrocketing. I think the average home in the United States now, I think the average cost is $30,000 more to build a house because of the expensive wood. So I don't know if Mountain Creek's ready. I don't know how far down the road. And if there needs to be the expansion to accommodate their full build out, they should still be reliable. Maybe in the future, we get an agreement with that. But I mean, I'm looking for some relief for the town. If Mountain Creek's going to be building it, but it's to the town's advantage and the MUA's advantage that they have the ability to expand. And I think it's going to be gradual. I don't know if I'm making sense on that. I'm just like looking for all the money from them up front, but the possibility if they all of a sudden do expand and build out, they're responsible for it. I don't want to see this get kicked down the road anymore. I want to just see the shovels in the ground and redo it.
Well,
I think
Yeah, and I understand exactly what Harry says. I think the way to prevent any kind of issues like that moving forward, once we have our preliminary design, I think the best way to do is to get the Mountain Creek's buy-in to exactly what we're doing with clear expectations. So we'll run this by, Mountain Creek and their engineers and wherever and say, listen, this is what we're going to do. Be aware of this and everything that we do, we communicate that with them. And so hopefully they understand the implications. Because you do have to run the danger of over designing it and making it very difficult to operate. And you don't want to under design it, but you can't, you can predict what we can do, hopefully we'll expand the sewer system, but you have no idea what Mountain Creek's going to do. So we have to get total buy-in from Mountain Creek. So I want the communication to be very good. Whatever we submit or preliminary, I'd like to get it. It might slow things down, but we definitely want to get them to buy into what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm going to send over Steve's report to them with all the other information they requested. I think something to keep in mind though too, and I mean, Steve, I know you're not like the township engineer, but I would think that if they were going to expand, they're going to have to go before the land use board, and they would have to show that they have the ability to push things through that pump station for any sort of expansion, right? I mean, it would stop at that point if the MUA could say it can't go through because of the size of the existing pump station. So I don't think we couldn't get to the point where there'd be like a disaster. They just wouldn't be able to expand without doing something for the pump station.
I mean, we really need to work with them. I mean, they're our partners. They've, new ownership has paid all their financial obligations. They're part of this community. They're our largest customer on the MUA. They're our largest taxpayer. They may be the largest taxpayer in the whole county. So I think we have a great relationship with them, and I just want to emphasize we need to work with them closely. It really is a symbiotic relationship, and we should keep it going.
It makes sense. All right, Danelle, you want to continue on?
Sure. So along the lines of pump station 2, obviously we've spoken about the transfer station. We've had a little bit of a back and forth with the DEP. I did share that information with Dave and with Paul about the transfer station issues. I mean, again, Steve, you can speak to this. I think they're just giving some like what their possible objections could be. I just don't see that they really have statutory, they can't point to like clear statutory issues with the idea of a transfer station in Vernon.
I would agree. So say, for example, one item that they noted, and this is just one of a few things. So I'm not sure, you know, they wrote a letter which in which they objected, which they kind of noted their objection to it without definitively stating exactly why. They kind of, you're left to interpret things. And say, for example, one thing is they just had a comment citing a couple different, covered a couple different parts of the New Jersey NJAC, New Jersey Administrative Code, where they referenced some definitions and they referenced a section about wastewater pump stations. So say, for example, they referenced definitions for septage and sewage, and then they said, look up what the regs say about wastewater pump stations. And for example, the regs for wastewater pump stations say that, I'm paraphrasing somewhat, but wastewater pump stations are intended for sewage. So maybe, you know, and maybe that is just them saying that, and maybe that is them saying, and that is grounds for us to, you know, dismiss any permits. Hard to say what they really mean there. But there's like 3 things like that where you'd have to read between the lines to know if they're just passing on some information that they found, or whether or not they are expressing reason in their minds for not granting permits.
Has that document been circulated from the DEP to everybody? Because I don't think I've seen it. That was from the DEP. Was that circulated?
I believe that I did send it to everybody,
Yeah,
but I will double check.
I thought I saw it also.
I apologize. I haven't seen it. All right, I'll look back on my emails. That's something, again, everyone, we should probably, you know, get a chance to review that and then see if you can, you know, help with the interpretation. I have not seen it, so I apologize if I haven't. All right, Danelle?
Yeah.
Any?
So the other
next,
stuff that I've been, yeah,
fees?
so the connection fees, I did reach out, we talked about this the last meeting. I reached out to other municipalities, and I was also looking obviously at the SCUMA rates. SCUMA does have obviously a set rate for connection fees. I just wasn't sure if it varied between municipalities the way like our regular fees, our regular operating fees do. So it turns out it does not. You know, they receive our approvals, and then they calculate per EDU what their connection fee is, which is $7,065 per EDU. Our current connection fee with the township is $46.65 with the MUA. I do have the auditor looking into our connection fee calculation, so we should have something for the next meeting from him regarding that.
Right, and then also we got a memo from Rich regarding his evaluation on this.
Yes.
So there's some room for us to work.
Correct.
We need to review these connection fees and see what we can do, because they haven't been looked at since 2011.
Yeah. While we're on this, that's excellent. Rich, if you're on the line, I don't know, can we talk about this now? You want to just get, like, is it best? Are we better just review your document and then discuss it at another meeting?
Well, if everyone has the chance to review it, we can certainly discuss it. I mean, there's no mystery or magic to the issue, frankly. It's a statutory formula that establishes how connection fees are calculated and recalculated on an annual basis. And I think in speaking via email today with or text with Danelle, Rob McNinch is, as Danelle has pointed out in her memo, Rob is currently doing that calculation and doing the math. So I think it would probably be best to wait. I think, Danelle, you said Rob's gonna have that next week. You expecting to have that
Yeah,
done?
for the next meeting, yep.
So I think it'd probably be better to have a more comprehensive discussion about that next week when we have, or the next meeting rather, when we have the actual calculation that Rob has performed, and we can discuss what makes sense.
Sounds good.
All right, that makes sense. We'll hold off to the next meeting.
So the next area, I'm going to leave the force main evaluation for Howie to discuss, but I will just say that, you know, it did get finished, and we will be having, I asked Steve to look into adding it into the existing asset management plan that we have, and then we should be able to approve our asset management plan and hopefully be done with that project, which would be great. And obviously, just a reminder, that project, or our pump station 2 funding with iBank is contingent upon the asset management plan being completed. So this is a good thing for the board. The next area is the sewer service area mapping. We had a meeting with the senator, and that went really well, I think. We have another meeting coming up with the senator about that and the DEP on May 18th. So I think that's positive. That's moving in the right direction. We do have support there at the state level, which is really good. I did send you guys updates on our list of capital items. So there are some new items from the safety review, which I'll talk about in a second, and how we can probably touch on some things about the safety review. So there was a few updates that we needed to take care of. Some clarification on railings and stuff that our former engineer said that, you know, we couldn't really install, but Dave was pretty clear, you know, you can install them. Let's get it done for safety. So those have been added. We've already reached out for some quotes on those things. I already spoke about the RFP for emergency services. Just working on OPA requests, finalizing 2 that have been, you know, outstanding. So those will be finished up tomorrow. And then some general stuff. I will say Jackie's done a great job. We have a nice filing system now. A lot of the folders have been gone through and organized so we can determine, you know, where the applications are, the old applications are, the connection information, maps and stuff like that that weren't really organized before. So that's fantastic. Our minutes are being updated here and on the website, obviously. We do have the laptop now, which is nice. So we're getting a couple of programs uploaded to that so that it can be used. We don't have Office on there right now because it didn't come with it. And that's it. Other than the safety review, again, Dave came by. He's the one who did our safety review last year, back in May of last year. So I think it's a good thing to do this annually to make sure that we're, you know, in compliance. Things change all the time. They could change all the time. They could change the regulations on what's required. So it's good to have that, you know, good to have Dave come out and do that annually. He did say things about the railings, a couple of additional davits and winches that we need to install because the existing one, I think that we have it wouldn't fit, it wouldn't work. And Howie can talk more about that. But in all, Dave is working on a town-wide plan. So the township is actually taking the lead on putting together the whole town-wide plan. So it's not just an outdated MUA plan. And it addresses not only the sewers, but also a lot of the storm drains that are in town as well. And that's it for me. I don't have anything else.
Yeah, Danelle, the meeting with about the sewer service area, that's May 18th. And what time is it?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I have to check my calendar.
So just to let everybody know, that's a meeting we're going to have with Oraho, apparently the commissioner, the DEP, and then and possibly the assistant commissioner. So hopefully we can make some.
Nice.
So I had to tell you, I was on the meeting and Steve Oro was very helpful, understood what we need to do, understood the gravity, you know, like he understood why we're trying to do what we're doing. and why it was important. So he's making some headway. So hopefully by next week we can have a lot of these things resolved.
Outstanding.
All right. All right, let's go on to Howie. If you're on, if you can jump in and we can go over an operator review.
Yes. I'm on.
Operations. Go ahead, Howie, it's all yours.
Yes, everybody got the licensed operator report. Pump station 1, again, going around with Dave. When we were doing the pipe job in there, we moved all the wires over to the ladder. We never put them back, which he noticed that. So then the boys corrected that and moved them. But where he wanted them was not feasible to get into the tank if we had to use the ladder. So we just stuck them behind the ladder. So they're out of the way of everything. And then just they had to start landscaping and keeping up on that outside there. Pump station 2, not too much again, just landscaping needed. As Danelle said though, Dave noticed the railings. He did mention the railings with safety, but it is again up to us, being that he did mention that, being that we are building a new one, we could put new railings in there, but if it's costly, he would say that it was okay. They're still in good shape.
Yeah, with those railings, it's the height. So they're at 36 inches right now, right, Howie?
Yeah.
I guess maybe back in the day that was a standard, but it's 42 inches now. So we are having a couple of companies come out and just quote us on what they think they could do there. Again, Dave said he's not going to push it because we are replacing that pump station in a fairly short period of time. So he's okay with it right now. My concern though is that if we have somebody from POSHA come out, like they could give us a hard time about it. They don't really care, I guess, if we're going to replace the system or not. So I do want to see how much it would cost, what some recommendations or suggestions would be from a couple of vendors, and we'll go from there.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Howie.
That's okay. The pressure gauge. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The pressure gauge was installed on the main. And then the one thing Dave noticed, which he wanted it addressed as soon as possible, but I told him it's going to take us a little bit, was in the back building, we have those blowers and the belt was moving. They do have a cage over the belt, but he wants the whole thing covered. He wants the whole belt and motor encased. That was one of the things that he said we had to address.
Makes sense.
Yes.
One thing on the pressure gauge, I just want to bring up while I'm thinking of it. Could we get readings on that, perhaps? For readings that would give us the pressure for each pump running?
Yes.
Okay, that'd be helpful.
Yep.
Do you have a process for that, Steve, where you want to how you want it done?
Well, I've been, so I assume that there is very rarely, or if never, the situation where both pumps are running at the same time. If that's incorrect, Howie, let me know. If not, once the pumps, so how do you read that, Howie?
You have to get down in the hole.
Yeah.
Actually, that one's digital.
Right. So maybe, once the pump, so disregard maybe the first, 30 seconds or whatever, minute when the pump is initially coming online, and then maybe monitor it for a minute thereafter for each pump. Would that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we did do that when we installed it.
Okay.
And what kind of pressures are you seeing then?
On
So
that
what's
one here,
typical?
on that one, when we were running it, was 24 PSIs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's low. That's really low. Hey, Howie, can you go over, like, in brief detail, like the force main evaluation? Like, how'd it go? Did it go smoothly? What did you find out? What you conclude from that evaluation?
Okay, yeah, I'll go by the manholes. The closest one to the golf course, as was on the diagram, was number 3. That one went out pretty easy, and they video camera from the golf course towards Falkenstein first, which was very clean until it got more to the end to where it was dropping into the gravity. Then it had some sludge in there, and the actual camera couldn't move through that. So that was suggestion was we would have to flush that one at some point. And he got on that one like probably 160 feet before the turn. But then on that one there again, when he went back towards the hotel, it was a short distance, maybe 40, 60 feet, and then it was a 45. And then as he zoomed in, probably another 20 feet was another 45.
Wow.
But all in all, that section looked good.
Good. How about the force main along the railroad tracks?
We did not do that.
Oh, you did not do that one?
No, we didn't camera that one. Was not in. It was only to do pump station 3.
Well, Danelle, I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
Yes.
Or were we supposed to do a force main evaluation of that one right along the railroad tracks? Was that part of it?
No.
Am I missing
No,
something?
that was never part of the specs.
This is just the force mains up by pump station number 3.
Yes.
Yes.
The video camera, in a report, when do you expect to see that back from them?
I will reach out to Fred Cook because I did not get it yet. Howie just asked me yesterday and I was like, no, I don't have it yet. So I will reach out to them and find out where that is.
And everything went well with Ferraro pretty well? You're happy with Ferraro's performance?
Yes, they were actually very good, very quick, in and out with all of them.
All right, good.
But then when we went to 2, the middle one, we did find a couple low spots where the camera was actually underwater. And then it came out and it ran probably about 60, probably 100 feet, could be more. And that was both ways. And then the same thing, and then the same thing from the first one. But all in all, the force main and all the welds and the connections look good.
Well, that's good news. Well, that's what we needed to find out. And anything else, Howie?
No, not with the force mains. All that, like I said, that went pretty smooth.
Good. Well, good job. We appreciate that. Any questions for Howie or Danelle before we move on?
On this capital item list that you've put together.
Mhm.
Now, I've been reading through this, and one of the things I'm trying to figure out is at the far right, if we could put, whether it's in notes or another column, if that has been completed or what percentage of completion is it at? I think that might be beneficial so that you can take a quick
Like
glance.
some more
at it.
clarity. That's okay. Yeah.
I think we
can
need
do
a
that.
little bit more clarity because I'm looking at this and I'm going like, okay, the Sulzer pump.
So where are we? Right. Yeah.
Yeah, is it done? It's received. Is it installed and complete?
Well, and some of the items are not being, like, some of them are not installed. Some of them we bought 2 of so we would have a backup, or backups in general. But yeah, I can give like a complete or 50% complete or whatever. Yeah.
Right, and then more clarity, like you added to that, these are backups for such and such. So we have it documented here. So no matter who comes in, they know where we are with this part of the process. Thank you.
Yep.
We'll have to keep fine tuning this list. It's getting better.
Well, I have to tell you, from my perspective, I'm pretty happy. This is very good. Danelle, you did a great job. Howie did a great job. This is very thorough, a lot of information. I don't know how everybody else feels, but it's pretty an excellent job by everybody.
Absolutely.
All right, any other questions for Howie or Danelle? If not, Danelle, do we want to go to the work session before number 9, open it up to public comment?
Yeah, that's probably, well, it's up to you.
Well, I'm gonna save number 9 to
For
after. We're gonna go, yeah, we're gonna go to number 10 first. Old business, Acme in vacant properties. I'm gonna, there was a memo put out by Rich Wenner. Rich, if you want to kind of, if we can, go over, what you saw and what you got to the MUA. Just give us a
Sure.
little brief summary.
Yeah, happily. So I presume you have all had a chance to read the memo, and if not, I'd be happy to get into more detail. Has everyone read it?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so as I stated in my memo, you really have, the law is very simple. I don't think there's any, there's not a whole lot of ambiguity in the law as to whether we can make adjustments for properties such as which I'll call loosely the Acme Plaza. And that is to say commercial properties which have multiple commercial tenants and which are experiencing vacancies in some of those units. We can do that, and I cited to the rules and regulations in my memo as to how that would be done. I think the larger, more global question is one of a policy position that the NUA needs to decide, which way it wants to go in terms of whether you should take action along those lines. And I think the danger in pursuing a policy that I don't want to say, is a catch as catch can adjustment of EDU allocation for commercial properties based upon the vacancy rate that the commercial property owner may be experiencing at a given time. But it certainly is analogous to that. And the danger obviously is, we live on EDUs. That's our air that we breathe, and we're not a flow-based billing MUA. And there is some argument on the other side. I said, well, because of that, there's an inherent inequity in the EDU system. And I think we should just acknowledge that from the start. Yes, that's true. It's the best that we can do with the creature that we're working with, and that is a sewer service area that is not flow based. So in the absence of water readings, we go to EDU, and that's been a recognized and established way of allocating and calculating sewer service charges for sewer users. Because we're EDU based and we need the EDUs, as you all are very acutely aware of, I think it's very, it's a slippery slope to entertain, particularly from commercial property owners, but also from residential property owners, applications to reduce the EDU allocation because the commercial property owner is experiencing a vacancy in one of its stores. And the reasons for that are numerous. One, just from an EDU position of losing EDUs. That's what we're trying to actively fight. We're trying to add EDUs to our system. So engaging in that sort of a policy would be counterproductive to the goals of the MUA and the efforts of the MUA since really its inception. Secondly, the constant changing of EDUs is going to wreak havoc with the budget and forecasting revenue and adding to administrative costs, adding to billing issues that we're going to experience. Thirdly, I think there's an incentive for a commercial property owner to try to let, and by let I mean rent, that property that may be vacant, and that incentive is minimized, if not completely removed, if they're not, and by they, the property owner is not paying EDUs for that vacant property. This may come as a surprise to some of you, but there are, by no means am I suggesting that this is the Acme property owner's goal, but there are commercial property owners who own commercial properties as a dumping ground for business losses. And there are property owners who have properties, and they may not be actively trying to rent the property, because it's advantageous to them from a tax perspective to be able to show losses on that particular piece of commercial property. The fact that a commercial property owner comes to the MUA and says, you know, please, 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 this is not fair, this is not equitable, I have a 30% vacancy and I'm paying sewer service charges for property that is vacant. Well, yeah, that's true. But we also, as I pointed out in my memo, have a mandatory connection fee. And even if you don't connect, we're charging the owner of that property for EDUs, and they're not even connected. Here, you at least have an actual physical connection to the sewer service area. So again, it's really which direction does the MUA want to go? How does it want to treat it? If the desire is to make some sort of what I'll say limited exception for unique circumstances, of course we can do that. But I think the MUA should think long and hard before entertaining a policy or adopting a policy of if a commercial property owner comes to the MUA and shows that it has a vacancy in one of its stores, that we're going to do an EDU reduction accordingly.
All right, thanks, Rich. That was a pretty good summary. I appreciate that. I guess I wanted to open it up to discussion amongst the MUA members. You know, if they have any feedback, you know, what their thoughts are. I will start with. I agree with Rich. Whatever Rich said in that memo, I think I think we should. It is a slippery slope. We're struggling with with EDUs to begin with. I think there's other areas we could work on to reduce rates, and we are making those efforts on those ends. And I think my opinion, we should probably focus on those. But I understand the need or the desire to do something. I think it's just too difficult to manage, and I just don't think it's a good idea. But what does everybody else think? Thoughts?
Well,
Anybody?
I'm sorry. Initially, when this conversation first came up, I was a little sympathetic, but Rich's memo and his explanation now is definitely got me thinking in the other direction, where we have to kind of maintain our standard with the EDUs and not reduce them, because we just luckily in town right now, a lot of real estate got sold, so there's houses back in use. But in the future, when if there is hopefully expansion as we anticipate and plan and want, if that does happen and we have all of these homes hooked up to a sewer system, and then the real estate market goes the other way again, and you have a bunch of empty homes that aren't hooked up, that aren't contributing sewage to the sewage system, we can't stop, let them not pay, because then we'll go belly up for sure. So we have to assure that when people purchase a piece of property, that they're going to pay their bills. They still have to pay taxes on that property, on the land. So I think it kind of falls under the same, the same scope, so to speak.
Anybody else? Harry, you're muted.
Paul, you bring up a good point. Just because maybe you're not living in your home, you don't stop paying property taxes. You're still going to pay for municipal services, police department, etc. I just think if you start giving breaks because commercial properties are vacant, you are opening up a can of worms. How are you going to keep up with that? And where's that going to take us in the future? We're making every effort to get connection fees under control, to get more users, more EDUs is really the only way. We can cut operations to just a certain amount, but it really is about getting more people online. And, when we look at the connection fees, if there's a reduction in that might be incentive for people to join. And we really have to look what's going to be the effect in 2023 and those subsequent years when those bonds jump up. Where are we going to be if we start giving people amnesty or breaks because their properties are vacant.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with Harry about, more focusing on connection fees and trying to attract new rate payers and commercial and residential properties to hook up to the system. That should be our focus. That's at least that's my opinion. Anybody else have any opinions?
I mean, I'm of the same opinion as Paul is. I mean, basically, it's their responsibility. They're the business owners that own the property and how they manage it. And they have, some vacancies in their building. That's up to them to bring the rent. As a homeowner who would be hooked up to this, all right, whether I'm using this as a part-time place to live or it's full-time or it's vacant, I still have to pay for the services. And in every other town, that's what the services are. That's what the compliance is. We've evaluated, we looked at the hardship situation and we looked at, whether or not they have the right EVUs. So we've done our audit. I think we're being fair here is that just if we go down that slope, as Rich said, it's a slippery slope, is that other people, private entities are going to say, hey, I only use this house three months out of the year because I'm down south 9 months of the year. I would like a break on my EDUs. We can't do that. It doesn't make sense, and it's not something that we could manage either. And it wouldn't be fair to the rest of the users. That's my 2 cents.
Good. Anybody else? Kristen or Dave?
No, good.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with the points that have been made. I think the biggest concern is the administrative nightmare. I mean, there's a number of concerns, but if we had water meters and we're able to do it on a water meter based system, it would be self-regulating and easier to administer. But we're not there. We can't do that. So I'm not in favor of giving them, what do I want to say? I think we stick with what we got.
All right, I think we're all in agreement with that. Rich, thanks a lot for that analysis. Obviously, we have that document if you want to refer back to it, but I appreciate the feedback. I think we're all in agreement that we're not going to address that at this time.
Yep, you're very welcome.
All right.
Yeah, Rich, you did provide some clarity on that for me, so thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah,
Thanks
a lot, Rich. I appreciate that. All right, moving on to water infrastructure financing, water bank. I was able to attend the iBank seminar, and I pretty much concluded that there's a tremendous amount of funding available from the DEP, and we really should, and we're going to take full advantage of that. Danelle, why don't you give some more clarity to that so we can update the board?
Well, yeah, so obviously the first step in getting water to town center, which I think is what you're asking, is that we're going to meet with Suez again. I know that Corey on the town side has been in touch with Tony. We did send around the 2018 agreement that they had sent around, but there's a lot more information needs to go into that agreement. But there needs to be a plan. So I was going to actually reach out to Steve after this meeting and kind of move forward with him on kind of setting up a plan, including Steve as our engineer in the discussions with the township, because the township has kind of given us the lead to be able to really work on this. So that's that as far as the financing side goes. I mean, once we have a plan in place, it's when we apply for iBank. So with the iBank, it's a simple setup on my side. I just set up the actual project. And then, I mean, sorry, Steve, but the majority of the work is done by the engineer. And then once funding goes through, it goes through. And usually they do, well, it's not usually, a lot of the time they do like short-term financing. So they'll help with notes in the beginning. And then once everything is completed and you give like a final sign off, and this works the same way on the sewer side. They do like short-term notes, and then once everything is completed, they sign off, and then they do permanent financing or permanent bonding is what it is. And it's bonded through them, not a separate financial institution. And a lot of there's different levels of financing available. So they could do, 50% principal forgiveness, or they could do a mixed rate. So they could do, 75% of the project is interest free with a small interest rate on the remaining 25%. So it depends on what type of project you're doing and what they would qualify you for. But that's basically how the funding works, and a little bit about how the project is going to move forward, because we are moving forward with this.
Yeah, and Steve, I wanted to add to that on the water side. We do want you to. I know you're obviously working on the pump station, but we do want you to pivot over onto the water side. And there's a lot of documentation that was done by Buck Seaford and Jost. That was Suez's engineering firm. That Danelle can provide you as background to at least get you started. And where we're trying to where we're trying to move in terms of water supply in the middle of town center, which is phase 3, which Harry's very familiar with. The other question I have for Danelle, and I wanted to bring this up, and I know Andy and Harry are on they're members of the council. There was some money received by the township, right, Danelle, under the CARES Act, right?
So
right. So
it's actually the America Rescue Plan. I keep calling it the CARES Act too. But it's the America Rescue Plan that was passed at the beginning of this year. It's over $2 million that the township is supposed to be receiving. That being said, I mean, we haven't seen the money, and I don't have any guidance yet from the Division of Local Government Services, who would issue that guidance on when the money's coming and where it's coming from or how we get it. We did have a meeting probably like 3 days after the act was passed by Congress, and I haven't heard anything since. So, I mean, I've done, I keep reading about it. I've done research about it, but I don't have any answer on when that funding is coming. I know that it's supposed to be split between a couple of years, half in the first year, half in the second year, and then you have to use all that funding and projects finalized by December 31st of 2024. And you're able to use that, obviously, for water infrastructure or sewer infrastructure. There's a number of other things you can use it for, but you can use it for those 2 items.
Right, and that's the reason why I brought that up. And this is for the MUA, and obviously Harry and Andy, who's on the town council, is that, there's a tremendous need for water and wastewater infrastructure. So interesting enough, I had the Bergen Record contact me. It was through Jersey Waterworks, which is an organization that works on infrastructure upgrading, stormwater, wastewater, drinking water systems, and there's a big interest from everybody is what towns are going to do with that, with the funding. Now, obviously, I didn't know the exact details, and I work with a lot of different municipalities, and what it seems to me is a lot of municipalities are earmarking that funding to water and wastewater infrastructure programs. So that's pretty encouraging. I don't know if they're going to write the story or if it's going to come back, but it may come out. But that's a good positive thing for Vernon. Hopefully the township considers that when they receive that money, and hopefully we can earmark it to projects that we're thinking about doing now. And then obviously moving down the road, if we can get, supplement those projects with iBank money, that's what we're going to do. And any questions, anybody?
No.
All right.
So, Mike, could you just read the name, the proper name of the act? I mean, I was considering it CARES, but it's actually something else.
America Rescue Plan.
Okay, thanks. America.
That was America's Rescue Plan. That was not the CARES Act, but the latest congressional where they approved this. What they essentially did was provide funding for every municipality. So every municipality in the state of New Jersey got a certain amount of funding. So,
Okay.
and this Verdon got $2 million. Others municipalities got $1 million, whatever, various amounts. And so there's a particular interest in how you're going to spend that money. And there's a lot of talk about how that's going to happen. But the feedback, like Danelle says, there's not a lot of guidance. So they're trying to figure out how to go through the process. But the positive thing is there's money available.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good thing.
Right. All right. Any other questions? Next is Danelle, you want to go? I don't know what this is about. Overcharges for January 20th to
Yes.
September 20th.
Yeah,
Explain
so back in 2020, we were contacted by the property owner at 2 Snowbird Court, basically saying that their property was a 1-bedroom, it's not a 2-bedroom, and it had been assessed as a 2-bedroom and for years since he had purchased the property. So we had the assessor go and check because we did do the reval and they did inspect the property. So it is only a 1-bedroom. It's being tax assessed as a 1-bedroom. So obviously, as you can see, our resolution from last year, 20-50, had approved him moving to a lower EDU from 0.8 EDUs to 0.6 EDUs. That being said, he did stop by my office and he contacted Jackie a couple of times because he's in the building a lot. And he had a discussion with me and he said, he's been trying to get this reduced since he purchased the property, 3 or 4 years ago. I unfortunately don't have anything in writing stating that. I went through old emails. I did not see anything from him. He said he hadn't sent anything in writing, but he did talk about conversations with the former executive director and then the last executive director before me. And nothing was done until this past year when he brought it to our attention. So really, it's up to the board if they want to go. He's not asking for every single year. He's just asking to go back to the beginning of 2020. We had approved it. When I first heard about it, which I thought was fair, if he's notifying us, in the last quarter of the year, then that's what we would do it, that we would make it effective back to. He's just asking that it be effective back to January. And I just wanted, to run that by the board before I made a decision like that.
All right. So essentially what you're saying, Danelle, is we got to consider resolution 20-50.
Well, you've already passed that resolution. Rich, do we, if this, because this doesn't have an effective date, so the effective date is really like the date that we approved the resolution. Do we need a resolution like returning monies owed, kind of like what we do on the tax side? I know we do like tax refunds via resolution. I'm not sure if that needs to be done.
Well, you can do, well, if it was supposed to be effective January 1 and they paid at least 3/4, I'm guessing. Let's see, when we did it in November. So
Yeah.
if they had 3/4 at 0.8, which is a 1/4 of an EDU at 0.6 for those 3/4. You could either do the refund or you may want to discuss and from a cash flow perspective, maybe just doing a credit.
Credits, right? I mean, I can do the credit, but I think if we do the refund, wouldn't we need a resolution?
You're absolutely going to need approval via resolution from the board if you're going to do a refund.
Okay. So it's up to the board. I can put that resolution together for the next meeting. I just wanted to, discuss it because I'm not going to put it on the meeting if you don't want to do that or consider it. You don't want to consider it then.
What is the town policy for something like that when it comes to taxes? If you had a reduction?
So taxes, it's their assessments and usually people like appeal via the court process. They're not
right. So I was going to jump in and I'll start to cut you off. Typically, if you have an inadvertent overpayment, right, of taxes, then there's a refund that's given. If you have a tax appeal, then it can be either via refund or credit going forward. Obviously, the municipalities prefer to do credits because of you're not taking money out of the coffers. You're just reducing the amount coming in. But in this situation, go ahead.
But Rich, if you just give a credit, like, can't you simply just give a credit and then not have to pass a resolution? Or no matter what, you have to pass some kind of resolution?
Well, I think my opinion on this is that if we do a credit, we can just do a simple motion tonight, recognizing that a credit's going to be given. If we're doing a refund, we need to do a resolution.
All right. So I prefer we do a credit. Does anybody have an issue if we just issue a credit and make the decision tonight?
No, I agree.
So let's just have a roll call to and a vote, Danelle, to provide a credit, and then you just could proceed with the credit and then move on.
So we need a motion to provide a credit and then a second.
All right,
for
yeah.
these
Do
three
anybody have
quarters.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I don't think anyone made the motion. I think Danelle was just asking for that motion. Uh-oh.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll do it. I make a motion that we issue a credit. And we issue a credit back for whatever overcharges there were, and we move forward from here.
So I'll second that. I'll second the motion. So motion by Dave McDermott is seconded by Mike Fury. Do you want to have a roll call?
Yeah, Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes,
Andrew Pittsger,
Abstain.
Kristen Wheaton.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. All right. Moving on. What we're going to do, I prefer that we, before we do go to the public. Oh, wait, no, we can actually go make a motion. Does anybody want to entertain a motion to open to public comment?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
All right, motion by Paul Carney, seconded by Kristen Wheaton. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, Danelle, is there anybody from the public that wants to speak? Uh-oh.
Jackie's muted.
Jackie, you're muted. Tell Jackie's muted.
They're working on
I
the
see.
connection.
Okay, we're
Here we
going
go.
to allow Jesse Palladini.
Good evening.
Go ahead, Jess.
And just one quick comment. Donnell said that she has some Oprahs that are going to be ready tomorrow. I hope one of them is mine. I've been very patient. It's got to have been 6 weeks maybe.
Yes.
since I first asked.
Yeah,
Yes.
just to let you know, Jesse, and I don't mean to cut you off, sorry. They are for you. And I appreciate your patience. Thank you so much. It's unfortunate that the maps, obviously I only had large paper copies, but I went through years of emails to find you the other maps. So that's a good thing.
Great. Thank you very much, Donnell.
You're
That's it.
welcome.
All right.
Thank you, Jesse.
Okay.
Thank you, Jesse.
You're welcome.
All right, anybody else?
No, there's no one else.
Okay, anybody want to make a motion to close to the public?
I'll make the motion.
Second it.
All in favor? A motion by Paul Carney, seconded by Andy Pittsger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. Before we go to executive session, does everybody, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna prefer to just go around and ask commissioner comments. And does anybody, we're just gonna go through those before we go into executive. So I'll start with the upper left-hand corner. Kristen Wheaton, you're on.
That's
Anything?
funny. I see Andy in the upper left.
Oh,
But no,
Pulled
no,
in for the block.
no comments today. Thank you.
No, thank you, Kristen. Next up in the Hollywood Squares is Andy Pittsger.
Just like I said before, the capitals list and the reports being published along with the agenda. I like that. Let's continue with that. The more we communicate, the more clarity we have. From Steve, I guess now that we're starting to see some forward motion, project timelines, I'd like to start seeing something put together so we can start getting an idea where we are with how should I say, the shovel in the ground? And then also, are we going to have pump station 2 as a project and transfer station as a separate project? We talked about that. Are we going to keep those separate? And if we are, we should have a project schedule for each one of those set up once it moves forward. But any preliminary stuff that we can see published would be helpful.
Okay.
Okay, I think, unless anybody else has any difference of opinion. That's my comments.
Good. Andy, I do agree with you. Thanks for that comment. Harry Shortway, next up.
I would just like to thank our professionals and Jacqueline and Danelle and Howie for the information we're now getting. I didn't see this over the last 4.5, 5 years. Well, since 2016, so much information coming in, quality information, and it's greatly appreciated. On that note too, is it possible to get a updated report outlining for the whole MUA, the whole condition surrounding Green Realty? Dates paid, dates money received, what they owe. I know they paid their EDU fees, to really narrow it down, what happened, what went wrong, so we can identify that these mistakes are not made again in the future, and really what is the truth. When I was mayor, I was told that place was hooked up. Then when we had an additional director, when Matt was in there, I was told it was not hooked up. So all the commissioners and our professionals know exactly what transpired over these years since they bought the property. And if you want to go a little before that, because the Board of Ed never hooked it up either, and they were supposed to. I know the town was renting it for $1 a year, or from the Board of Ed. The town never hooked up to the system themselves till I became mayor. So, but I think it's really to get clarity, and since the communication is really going in the right direction now, so we all know what went on. So I appreciate it. Maybe in 4 weeks' time, Danelle, I'm going to be dumping. I know a lot of stuff's going on, but in 4 weeks, if we can get a report, I know I would greatly appreciate it. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Harry. Mr. Paul Carney. Go ahead, Harry. Sorry.
I just wanted to add, because there's some, I'm being told by residents stuff, that there was a letter from the MUA to Green Realty that they didn't have to pay. So, and that's where I want really to go with this report and say, it didn't exist. There's no emails, there's no letters. Instead of Oprahing everything, we just come out with a report and give it to all the commissioners. So thank you.
I agree with you. Thanks, Harry. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, Harry kind of went right where I was going to go. And I do say thanks to the professionals for getting us information that we really have needed in the, up to this point. Because it gets to a point of almost embarrassment where we, keep going back and forth, flip flopping, ping ponging on things. Yeah, they did connect, they didn't connect, they're going to connect. They don't have to connect. And to what Harry said, none of us that I know of, maybe when Harry was on the council before he was mayor, he would have more knowledge of these things to an extent, but none of us were involved when a lot of these things took place or transpired or didn't transpire. So we kind of go by more of what we're being told. And I think going forward, unless we have some documentation in front of us at a meeting specifically, if the public asks a question, unless we have it right there in black and white, or we really know for sure, we should refrain from answering in a positive or a negative, in an absolute, and say, you know what, we're going to look into that. We're going to check our records and get back to you, because it's not a good visual, or for us to, have one answer one meeting, then the next meeting have another answer. And it's just basically what Harry was saying. We have to, you guys are getting it together now, and I really appreciate it, because going forward, I'd like to be accurate in our representation to the people. That's it.
Good comment, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I appreciate that. That was excellent. Well said. Mr. Dave McDermott.
Hi, Mike. How you doing? My only comment is I think that we as a unit went in the right direction with regard to the EDUs and whether or not we'll cut people a break or anything to that effect. I think that we pretty much have to stand our ground. And I think we made a good decision tonight.
Good. Thanks, Dave. My comments before we move on. I think we need to continue to focus on looking at connection fees, establishing good policies toward connection fees to encourage new users to hook up. We must continue to work on expanding the sewer system. We need to work on upgrading the system and getting to a point where it is sustainable. And I think we're making some pretty good progress. And I think it's really a credit to everybody on this MUA. It's working together. It's a very well organized and hardworking MUA. And I really want to let all the professionals, Steve, Dewberry, Howie, Danelle, and welcome to Jackie. It's definitely, what we're seeing now is definitely an incredible improvement. So we're seeing this already, and I think that's very positive. And the other thing that I wanted to say was this is the direction we need to go in. We're taking very bold steps moving forward in order to address these rates, the high rates, the issues that face Vernon in terms of the sewer system. We're making incredible strides, and there's more to come. And I look forward to working with and I said this before, the township and the MUA are working very well together, and we want to continue to do that. So I think it's very positive. So that's it for me. We're going to move on to Danelle. What's the resolution for the executive session? I don't have it in front of me.
The resolution number 2131.
Anybody we want to entertain a motion to go into executive session, resolution 21 dash what?
31.
31.
And this is for the purpose of personnel is the matter to be discussed.
Right, for the purpose of discussing potential litigation and personnel matters.
Motion to move into executive resolution 21-31.
Anybody want to second that? I heard second by, all right, so motion by Andy Pittsger, seconded by Kristen Wheaton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? I apologize before we leave. Was that link sent to us?
Yes. Do you want me to resend it?
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll do
You can
that.
resend it.
Yep, I will do that. And I just need to take a roll call before we go in.
All right, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Carney. You're muted.
Paul Carney.
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Andrew Pittsger,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Harry Shortway.
Yes.
Okay. And I will
Just
see you
resend that
over-
link. Yeah, on the other side, just resend the link to know so we could easily get to it.
Yep, I'm sending it right now.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Donnell, it's gonna be the same link, right?
It's not it should be the link.
The one you said operators report, safety review and closed session link, right? So it's
Yes.
all right.
Yeah.
It's not gonna change, in other words.
No.
Okay. See you on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got it?
So. Yeah. I did. Yep.
I always forget that part. Can you make Mike a
Oh,
he's in
yeah.
participants?
Sure thing.
Thank you.
There we go. Is it good?
Should be.
Jacqueline, we're
I
back.
think we're all here. I think we're good to
We're
go.
back.
We're back.
Just waiting for Mike.
Of course.
Mikey's got to know he's slow when I get back to a meeting before he does.
Dave, I give you a lot of credit. You really definitely do it, whether the computer or with the iPhone. You always get it done. Is there such thing as a crutch? Is there such thing as a crutch for an iPhone that we could give Mike?
What Donnell was saying earlier tonight. My laptop computer, the camera is not anywhere near as sharp as my iPhone. Like the video and stuff like that.
Really?
And if I'm on a FaceTime or a Zoom, it's much clearer and less grainy. I guess my stuff is getting old,
I'm not going there with you, Dave.
It might not be the camera that's grainy.
I guess I shot myself in the foot there, didn't I?
Oh. Well, it's gotten to the point, Dave, I can't deal with small screens. So I have a 32-inch screen here, and I told my wife the 42 is coming over here next. I love the big.
You want to hear this? I've been trying to talk, and I didn't realize I was muted the entire time. So.
And it was one of
We were talking about
best
you,
things you
Mike.
said in a long time.
Okay. Go ahead, talk about me all you want. It doesn't matter. Doesn't bother me. Anybody want to make a motion to reconvene?
I'll make a motion to reconvene.
I'll second it.
Motion by Paul Carney, seconded by Dave McDermott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second it.
Motion by Andy Pittsger, seconded by Dave McDermott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Everybody have a good weekend.
Happy
Okay.
Mother's Day to the mothers. Take
Bye
care.
now.
Happy Mother's Day.
So long.
Happy mom.
Good weekend.